Yo guys, JC here. Welcome back to another episode of JC's Daz Corner, episode 3 today. This week I'm gonna take it a bit easy. I have a lot of stuff to show you actually, but I'm trying to kind of cut up the content so it's not just like in one go, right? So yeah, today we're gonna look at some pictures from other people. I'm gonna try to critique them again, like I did in episode 1. And then I'm just going to briefly show you Daz, the interface a little bit. It is pretty complicated, to be honest with you, so just we'll see how it goes, I guess. All right, let's start with photos here. So let me start with this one, actually. So open. Okay, this one is by Inani. I don't know, it's from Facebook, so let me just resize it a little bit here. There we go. That's better. Can you see that? Fine? Yeah. All right. So this photo, this picture here, I should say rather, I'm pretty sure like the background here is a real photo. Just from the looks of it, it could be an HDRI, but it looks kind of weird. Like it looks very kind of low res photo camera. You know what I mean? Whereas HDRIs usually look pretty good. But yeah, this looks pretty weird. It looks to me like a real photo, but obviously the character is not. And just like I said in episode 1, it's the same criticism as back then. When you mix 3D characters with a real photo, you have to do a better job of blending it together. Now, obviously, I really doubt this is for sale. I would really be surprised. I would be even more surprised if it's for sale and somebody actually buys this. So this is probably for fun, I would say. Actually, you know what? From now on, for every picture, I'm gonna give my opinion if I think if this is for sale or it's just for fun. For me, this one is just for fun. But yeah, I mean, look, that's just what I said before. You need to do a better job of blending it together. And like I said before as well, it's not so simple. You need to basically look, I would just take like a real photo, like just take a whatever, like it can be your pet or something like that. Or even better, a person, because obviously here we have a person on the motorcycle. And just look at how it blends with the rest of the photo. Is it sharp edges? I really don't think so. Like I told you before, to look at your hand, right? And if you stare at one point of your hand, the other parts of your hand become very kind of blurry and really out of focus actually, unless you're a spider or something and you have multiple eyes. But yeah, you're a human being, so you have to make a picture that kind of reflects the human eyesight. Not always, of course, because otherwise it would just be kind of like this one tiny thing in focus and everything else would be out of focus, and that's not realistic either. But yeah, my best advice here is just to take a real photo, look at it, and see how it kind of blends in with the rest of the picture. And again, if you want to do a good job of blending it in, then I recommend using some filters which really change the picture. And in that case, it will actually help to blend it in. Trust me. So yeah, that would be my advice here. As far as the rest is concerned, it's really not very impressive. I mean, the lighting is really plain and boring. But for me, the main thing is just, yeah, it really sticks out like way too much. Like it's obvious. It's a 3D character. You know what I mean? All right, let's look at another one. This is one by Melanie Mueller. We don't need to save that and resize. Okay, there we go. Yep. So this one, ooh, I lost the screen here. There we go. This one, I do quite like this one. This might be for sale, actually. Don't know. Um, but I have a few issues with it as well. So here, first of all, it's an acting issue, which is not even related to the photo itself. But okay, if you have a puddle of water, and especially look at the shoes she's wearing, you're not gonna step in the puddle, okay, unless you want your feet wet. So I would just not, like, I don't know, I would just move that puddle away, or move the character a little bit away or something. But definitely you would not step in the puddle. The way that she steps on it also is pretty weird, because it looks like she's kind of walking on water. Is she like a reincarnation of Jesus Christ or something? Yeah. Your feet would definitely like sink in there. It's a puddle, so it's not like even, right? There's gonna be like some dips in there, so that's already one thing. And then the other thing is, there seems to be like a focus rack going on here. The front of the picture is out of focus. Actually, the whole thing is out of focus, I would say. Um, but maybe I think like there's something going on with the focus here, which is not right, because the character itself is very in focus, but literally everything else is defocused, and that's just not right. So I'm not sure what Melanie used here. It could be what do you call it? There's a thing on the camera called like depth of field or something. I'm not sure how well it works in all situations, to be honest with you. Like, I rarely use it myself. I'd rather do the focus later if it's possible, using layers with different, for blurring, basically, different blurring. If it's further away, the blurring is more powerful. But here, definitely something is not right with the blur. With the lighting, I don't know why, but it's something is just not quite right either. Like, it seems like she's too well lit or something compared to the environment. And yeah, that's pretty weird. But overall, not bad, not bad. But it's just there are certain kind of details which could be better, I think. All right, let's move on to the next one. Let's do this one here. Oh, this one looks pretty huge, so let's resize it a lot. There we go. Okay, so this one here is by Sarah Nace Pagel. I'm totally butchering the names, I'm sure. Okay, so this one, my first comment here is that this is not like the best background at all. This is definitely not. I don't know. Like, it's just very kind of basic to me. It's really not impressive. I think in the Daz store, there's essentially like kind of two categories. There's some stuff that looks really good, and then there is a bunch of stuff that looks like this, just like very kind of plain, boring, and average. Yeah, it's really not impressive. In the first episode, I also said that you definitely need to avoid characters just kind of standing there. Like, it's not telling a story. It's not doing. It looks like just like a kind of weird, photo that somebody took just for the hell of it. But there's no story behind the picture here. There's really not much. I think this one, I know it has a logo in the bottom, but again, I would be really surprised if this is for sale. I mean, this is really not impressive whatsoever. So yeah, the lighting is okay-ish, but really, I would say even below average. I mean, this is really not impressive. I don't know. The I don't know. The shadows, it's really hard to tell here if it's accurate or not, but yeah, for me, this is not great. I mean, not the worst we've seen so far, even from the episode one, but just not impressive. All right, next we got kind of a sexy one. So the first thing here I notice is that there's really kind of a lack of contrast, especially in the background. It it's like just again looks really uniform, and there's no depth to the picture. It looks like basically just a background and then the character in front of it, and that's it. Like there's really no sense of depth here, and this is like definitely a bit of contrast would have helped to bring out the blacks more, from the rock in the back especially. Yeah, the rest is just okay. I think it's just like a preset pose, so it's really not very impressive once again. Um, yeah, this one I highly doubt it's for sale. I'm pretty sure this is just for fun, but I don't know. Could be a hell of a lot better, that's for sure. Just a bit of color correction would go a long way. Just do that, and that would already help. All right, next we have 2B. So let's try to resize that. All right, that's a bit too much. Oh, okay, that's good. That's better. This one is by J. Pullman. Obviously, 2B. I don't know the background here. I don't know because there's a lot of HDRIs out there, so it could be one of those. It could be a real photo. It could be anything really. But okay, so here my main complaint is that the character itself, there's not enough light on the character. So by the way, I highly doubt this is for sale because this is fan art. And if you try to market fan art, then I wish good luck to you because, like, if you want to get sued, then go for it. By all means, go ahead. I know that because I did a character of from Ruby, and in fact, if you go back to episode 2, you will know exactly what I'm talking about. Now, it's not for sale. It's just on Facebook, Twitter, DeviantArt, but it's not for sale. You can't buy anything at all because it's fan art. And in fact, I did contact Rooster Teeth, the creator of Ruby, and they told me that yeah, you can't sell fan art. If you do that, then basically they're gonna sue you. That's kind of what they implied. So yeah, if you want to sell fan art and you don't even ask for permission, I really wish you good luck because yeah, if you want to get sued, then go for it. But I'm not gonna do that. Anyway, so this one, yeah, there's a lack of lighting on the character. Look, it's okay to do a night scene or whatever, but at the end of the day, you want to see the characters. I think like I have a friend who saw like one of the, I don't know, one of the recent Batman movies, and it was most of the fights, if not all the fights, took place during the nighttime. And Batman wears a black suit. In the night, you can't really see it. You know what I mean? Like it's obvious, right? I mean, but I don't know. Like a lot of people don't think about it. But yeah, you can't see well in the dark, especially if the dude is wearing a black suit. So you have to give it then more light. Um, just here another light would have helped a lot. I think so. Yeah, overall, like not bad, not great either, but definitely a bit more lighting on the character would have helped. And the last one we're going to look at today is this one. So let me resize this one, and there we go. Now that one, I quite like it. It's pretty cute. I think it's pretty simple, this one. You got this room, you got the window, obviously. There is only one source of light here. I mean, there could be others. There could be some kind of very weak ambient light somewhere. But just for the sake of argument, I'm going to say there aren't any others. So it just comes from the window. And so that's pretty easy, right? You just stick a source outside and just beam it on the character. Again, in Daz, by the way, I might show you later actually, but yeah, if you add a light, the easiest way to move it around is actually to select the light and just literally kind of move it using the sliders. I might show you later, so just hold that thought. But yeah, here we have one light coming from the outside. It looks a bit too orangey for me. That's maybe the only complaint I have. But yeah, it's a pretty simple scene. Just a girl wearing panties and a top, sitting there on the edge of the bed, looking out. It's simple, but you know the lighting works here, and the black actually came out really well here. Like I don't see any grain. Um, this one might be for sale. Actually, I wouldn't be surprised. This is the type of stuff I used to do like when I started out. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's for sale. Really. All right. So now let's look at Daz. So let me turn this off. Where is it? Here. And let me turn Daz on. Okay, so actually, this is my third video in the series, but I've never yet opened Daz. Okay, so yeah, a lot of people kind of heard about it and looked at photos, but they don't know what Daz is. Okay, so this is Daz. Hello, welcome to Daz. Uh, Okay, so we looked at some images that were probably made with Daz. You have to be careful because sometimes people post images on these groups, but they're not made by Daz. Okay, so sometimes it's obvious, sometimes a bit less so. But the thing is, like, the more you're familiar with the Daz store, the more you can identify whether, you know, what you looked at came from Daz or from another source like Blender or even some people these days use AI. Don't even start me on that because at least when you use Daz, you have to work, you know? Okay, this is actually like a typical screen of Daz. Right now, we just have a cube in the scene, and that's it. And you have to put work into this in order to make a scene, to make the scene work and light it properly, etc., etc. If you use AI, you're not doing any of that. You're basically like a machine somewhere is doing all the work for you, and then you take the credit for it, which is ridiculous. Sorry, but it's ridiculous. I will never ever understand that. Using AI for your purposes, just you know, kind of maybe you want to see something or maybe you want to get some inspiration, that's okay, that's fine. But don't go and then post these images on groups where people, you know, put some effort into actually making an image. You didn't put any effort. Some machine somewhere did all the work for you, and now you're taking the credit for it. I'm sorry, but that's ridiculous. Don't do that. So let me start with a brand new scene. So let's delete the cube. And yeah, so you start with this window. I'm gonna just quickly go over this again. I actually did record this, but then I noticed that it didn't record the screen properly. So actually you couldn't see anything. So I'm doing this again. Okay, so here you got your render settings. This is basically your size of the picture. Now I usually go with 1920 by 1080 or 1080 by 1920. That's a 69 aspect ratio, and I find that it works the best for what I do. Now for you it may be different. It's up to you. I usually do still image because I do like just one image. I don't do a series or a movie, but you can change it here if you want. And I always export it to the desktop. It's not ideal, but just again, because I export just one image, it's okay. And the headlamp is actually like a lamp that is attached to this view right now. And it's good because if you don't have it, and if you don't have other lights in the scene, then it will just be black. You can't see anything. Well, that's normal. I mean, if you don't have any light at night, you don't see anything. It's just pure pitch black. But if you do have lights, and I do recommend using lights, not the headlamp. If you do use lights, then you can turn it off. Just put it on never, and that way it will just not appear. This option here, when no scene lights, is also okay, but sometimes I notice that it doesn't really work for some reason. It still stays on. So just put it to never. That way you don't have to worry about it. And so these settings here is the settings you see in this box here, okay? So right now you can see it's a horizontal 16:9 format. It's kind of 1920 by 1080. I know it doesn't look like it. It looks much smaller, but in reality it is. And so if you export the image right now, it's going to be like proper resolution. It's not going to shrink it or anything like that, okay? So it looks small here, yes, but in reality it's actually correct. Because I think the resolution of my screen right now is 1920 by 1080. So yeah, this is just a fraction of it. But because it has to fit into the software, right? So let's add a cube. The way you do that is you click on create up here. And by the way, there's a lot of menus up there. It's pretty complex, so I'm not going to go over it today. I might do it later, but it is pretty complex. I mean, even some things for me still are pretty complicated. Let's do a new primitive, which is right here. And so cube is fine. 1 meter by 1 meter is absolutely okay. Click on accept. And this thing here, you see these kind of squares on the ground. That's actually the ground plane. So we can see that the cube right now is on it, okay? It's like sitting on the ground, like just on it. Now, sometimes some objects, depends on the scene, but they are not on the ground. And I think the way you can fix that is, for example, oh, that's not great. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I sometimes there is a button here, right here. It's really tiny, and you can't really see it. But if you click on it, the bar disappears, right? And I was looking like how to bring it back, but it's right there. Anyway, so if you have a cube and let's say you translate it up, so right now it's floating. I'm not sure the units here. Is it meter or centimeter? But let's say it's centimeter, so it's floating 77 centimeters in the air. I think the way you can drop it is object. So you go to edit, object, and then move to floor. And there you go. Now it's back on the floor. And if you look at the parameters, it's back at 0. This is very useful because sometimes, like I said, there are certain characters for some reason that tend to kind of float up a little bit from the floor. And so yeah, the easiest way to move them back to the floor is just how I showed you. But if that doesn't work, and sometimes it doesn't, then you can use these sliders here. You can also like rotate it and stuff. So yeah, remember this is a 3D program, so you're moving around in 360 degrees, right? You can look around, etc., etc. I also recommend creating a camera as quickly as possible. And if you just want this view right now, you have to copy the active view, okay? And don't forget to change it here to the camera. So from this drop-down menu here, instead of perspective view, change to camera, and now you're on the camera. This is very useful actually because the perspective view is not remembered. Like I can move around, well, not sure why it doesn't change now, but okay. Okay, I'm actually not sure why, but I think you can still move around like this. You can use these arrows here to move around. And let's say right now I save this scene. I'm happy with it. I just want to save it because I want to continue later. Well, guess what? When you come back to the software, your perspective view is going to be reset to the default view. So in order to avoid that, you must create a camera because the camera's coordinates are remembered. And so later you don't pull out your hair. Like I had this, this perfect scene and I had this perfect camera and I saved, I closed the program, I came back to it, and no, my view is reset. Well, that's because you didn't have a camera. You use the perspective view, and the perspective view doesn't save. So yeah, create a camera. That way your hair will stay on your head, hopefully. And yeah, so it's the same thing with the camera. You can move around, but the difference is that this will be saved. Like if you reopen the software later, your parameters here will be saved. And this is essential, of course. Now you can also add lights. Now the way you do that is you create a new light, for example, spotlight. Distant light is good too, but it's just like this is good for just in general. It's kind of like a work light if you want. It's gonna be somewhere far away usually, and it illuminates the whole scene. And this is good if you're working in a kind of dark scene, but just while you're adjusting some stuff, you need some light. So the distant light is ideal for that. And then later, when you're done moving things around, just disable it, and that's it. Perfect. But I'm gonna use a spotlight, and I'm still gonna apply the view. So it's gonna copy this camera view that we have right now. And here we have the spotlight. So I said before that to move the spotlight, it's easier to use the drop down menu. And that's what I mean here. Use this drop down menu and you click on spotlight. And now you are in kind of spotlight mode if you want. And here you can really move it around. It's so much easier than doing it by eye or guessing, or some people do that. I mean, I don't understand it myself, but some people do that. And you can see here as I move the light, you can see how it changes the lighting on the cube. Obviously, the light itself has it has a certain angle, a spread angle. And if you go outside of that, then obviously it's not going to light the object anymore. That's normal. So that's why if you have a big scene, you probably need many lights. Like I said, I usually use three, at least three. But if it's even a larger scene, then you need a few more lights. But you can see here, yeah, as I move it around, it changes the way, the light affects my cube. Now you can change certain modes here, maybe cartoon shaded or smooth shaded. I don't know. It's not great. The best mode is NVIDIA iRay mode, but the problem on my machine here is that if I click on it right now, it's almost gonna freeze up. And I don't know why. I asked support about that, but they don't know really what's happening. I sent a log. They didn't really comment anything particular about it. I didn't see anything in the log either. Um, this could be also because right now I'm using both OBS and Daz, and both are using my graphic cards resources. So it could be something like that. I did manage to kind of get it to work a few days ago, but right now it's not working. Maybe because both OBS and Daz are running. I don't know. But anyway, Daz support told me that it's kind of normal. NVIDIA iRay preview mode often crashes. It's not meant to be like really used for work. It's just meant to kind of preview your scene, but not more than that. But it's interesting because on my other machine, it works absolutely fine. I can use it. I can rotate around. I can do a bunch of stuff, and it's absolutely fine. Yeah, it's maybe a little bit slow, but just a little bit. But on this machine, it just like doesn't work. Basically, it completely locks up my system sometimes, and the only way to get out is basically to reboot the computer. So obviously, I'm not gonna do that right now. I don't want to do that. So be careful. This depends on your machine. You'll have to test it if it crashes for you as well. It could be the graphic card drivers, but in my case, it's not even that. It's some kind of deeper problem that I'm not able to see. If you have this problem and if you had the solution, please let me know in the comments because I'd really like to solve this. Right now, I really can't. But next week, I will use my other machine and I will show you what it looks like with the iRay preview, with the iRay renderer, basically. But just for today, I just wanted very basic thing. So I'm not going to go into too much detail. There's one other thing I will show you next week as well is the surface tab for the characters, because so if you have a character in the scene, the character has textures. Texture is kind of hard to explain, but it's basically kind of it's an image which is stretched out. So it's, if you imagine your face, if somebody took off your face and kind of stretched it out flat, that would be a texture of your face. And yeah, you can change some parameters here, but I will show you next week because it's easier to show you on a machine where it actually works and not a machine where it's mostly kind of broken up. So for now, this video is over. Thanks for watching. And if you enjoy it, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. It helps a lot, to be honest with you. And I will see you next week. So take care, stay safe. JC signing off, and peace.